It was a typical night at the restaurant, until the doors swung open and everything changed. A masked man, his gun raised high, stormed in. Panic spread like wildfire. Patrons screamed, and the staff ducked under tables. But one woman didn't flinch. Janet, the young black waitress, stood still, her eyes steady, her hands calm. While others trembled, she was unwavering. The robber's eyes locked onto her, and he pointed his gun directly at her. What would she do next, and how would it change the way the world saw her? Keep watching to find out. Janet had always dreamed of working at the Gilded Rose, one of the finest restaurants in the city. It wasn't just a job. It was her ticket to a better future. As a black woman working in a predominantly white high-end setting, she'd learned to keep her head down, smile through the microaggressions, and serve with grace. It wasn't easy, but she was used to the quiet stares, the assumptions people made about her based on her race. She had grown accustomed to blending into the background, but tonight was different. It started as a typical evening, the steady hum of conversations and clinking glasses. The familiar faces of regular customers filled the room. Janet moved from table to table, serving drinks, making small talk. The night felt like every other, until the door slammed open and everything she'd ever known came crashing down in an instant. The man who entered was anything but ordinary. A ski mask covered his face, and in his hand he held a gun, a real one, its cold, metallic barrel pointed at the room full of terrified people. "Everyone down! On the floor!" His voice cracked as he screamed, his hands shaking uncontrollably. Panic spread like wildfire. The diners scrambled to get under the tables, some even knocking over chairs in their haste. The staff followed suit, diving behind counters or anything they could find for cover. But Janet didn't move. Her feet stayed planted to the floor, and her gaze remained fixed. She felt the gunman's eyes on her, piercing through the chaos. He pointed the gun directly at her chest. "You get over here!" he shouted. His voice was raw with fear, and desperation was etched in his eyes. For a moment, everything around her seemed to freeze. Janet knew that this was no ordinary robbery. It was a test of strength, of character. Most people would have been frozen in fear, but Janet, she didn't flinch. Her posture was calm, her face expressionless. She understood the power of being composed when the world seemed to crumble around you. Her eyes never left the robber as she stood still, but in her mind, her heart pounded. She could see the desperation in his stance. It wasn't just the gun that made her body tense. It was the knowledge that this moment was a mirror for everything she had endured, being underestimated, overlooked, and dismissed. And then, just like that, the robber turned away from her. It wasn't anything Janet did. It was a shift in the environment, a noise from the back of the restaurant. His eyes darted, distracted for just a second. But that second was all she needed. Without thinking, she sprinted forward, her body moving on instinct. The gun, once aimed at her, was now on the floor as she knocked it away, using all the strength in her body to wrestle the robber down to the ground. The room was still. It was only now, as the man struggled beneath her, that the magnitude of what she'd done hit her. She was holding him down. She, a black woman working as a waitress, was now in control of the situation. The man who had threatened her life was now helpless beneath her. Her decision was simple, but her message was clear. No one gets to decide your worth, especially not with fear. When the police arrived, the situation had already been diffused. The robber was restrained, handcuffed, and led out of the restaurant. Janet stood there, shaken but unbroken, watching the officers take him away. It was surreal. She hadn't expected to become a hero. She was trying to survive, trying to protect others. But she had done more than that. She had rewritten the narrative. No longer would she be the invisible waitress, the quiet server in the background. She had shown everyone in that room, including herself. That strength doesn't come from titles or appearances. It comes from the resilience to act when others freeze. The patrons, who once ignored her or looked past her, now looked at her with admiration. They saw her for who she truly was. She wasn't just the woman who served their meals. She was the woman who saved them. How many more stories like this will it take before equality is more than a seat assignment? Tell me, where are you watching from? Take care.